Morning.
It's
Good morning,
30.
Jennifer.
Morning,
It's
Jen.
Morning, everybody. It's 8:30, so I'd like to call the Planning and Stakeholders Relations Committee meeting to order. There's not a lot on the agenda today. Essentially, the approval of the minutes and then additional presentation on the BRT. I guess I'm not sure it was. Let me see, but oh, by the way, I did read the agenda. It's just what they do with my agenda now. Well, anyways, needless to say, I call the meeting to order. So the first item on the agenda is approval of our minutes from our last meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second, but I think we need to do a roll call, John.
Oh, we're gonna do, okay. Oh, okay. All right.
Good call, Ann.
Sorry.
Okay, let's start. John Tagg,
Ann O'Gorick.
Stephanie Turman.
Jessica Walsaville.
Austin Davis.
Jen Liptak.
Smianik.
okay, that's all the board members present. All right, so I guess we'll start. Oh, one thing I want to mention is the call is being recorded, even though it does say that on there. I want to also emphasize the fact our call is being recorded. The first item on the agenda, it asks for a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any corrections to the minutes? Any changes or corrections to the minutes? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, the minutes were approved. Next item on the agenda is the BRT. David, you have an update on that?
I do. Thank you, Committee Chair Tague and members of the Planning and Stakeholder Relations Committee. I'm David Huffaker. I'm the Chief Development Officer here at the Port Authority. And I just wanted to give you a brief update. It won't take long, but the brief update kind of belies that there is a lot of work happening on the BRT project. We wanted to give you an update on some of the activities and some of the next steps. So Jeff, next slide, please. So just kind of an overview of what I'm going to be talking about today. We've got a highlight of some of the public meetings and some of the other activities that we had in January. I'm going to talk a bit in depth about the project management oversight consultant because that's one of the key activities underway right now. And I just wanted to give you all a chance to understand how the PMOC works and kind of the criticality of that effort. We'll do a look ahead to some of the activities over the next month and then a reminder of the overall project timeline. So Jeff, next slide when you get a chance. He's doing double duty here today. So sorry about, we've got some speaking coming out? Okay. So last month we had a number of public meetings that were, and actually you're hearing some of the remnants of some of our recorded. There we go. Thank you, Jeff. Okay. So we've got, had a number of public meetings last month. There were 4 general public meetings in the evening. They were targeted towards specific neighborhoods. We had one for the Highland Park community, one for Squirrel Hill, one for Oakland, and one for Uptown. And in each of those individual presentations, we did have a targeted slide that covered some of the issues that were relevant to those particular communities. However, the meetings were all open to everyone, and we got over 200 participants overall. It actually was a very nice use of our Microsoft Teams content and tool to be able to open it up to as many people as possible. It was a nice interactive session. We actually started out with about a 45-minute recorded presentation by Amy Silberman, and then opened it up for questions and answers, as well as chat in Microsoft Teams. And so that provided a good overall 2-hour session where the community had a chance to hear some of the updates on the project and could ask questions about items of particular concern to them. And the presentation covered the gamut. We covered everything from the overall project overview, some of the bike infrastructure and signal infrastructure and transit lane infrastructure that's going to be put in. We covered the fleet and some of the sustainability initiatives that will be happening with the project, the overall service plan, some of the community and station impacts by having some of the stations in the individual neighborhoods. So it was a pretty comprehensive presentation. I had a number of Port Authority staff online, our consultant, design consultant, AECom, DOMI staff, and actually in the Uptown meeting, we did have staff from the PWSA participate, and they actually did their own presentation in that session as well, because there are so many utility upgrades that are occurring in the Uptown area. We also included a simulation of some of the operations of the dedicated lanes, the bus lanes, and how the bikes and pedestrians would interact with the single occupancy vehicles and the transit traffic occurring throughout the community. So it gave people a chance to feel like the project was more real and they could see how things were going to occur. So overall, it was a very good session. We did have a few takeaways. We have a few follow-up meetings that we've been executing here over the last few weeks. But overall, I think we increased the engagement and awareness of the project and learned a few things that we can incorporate as we move into the next steps. Some of the other activities that were happening in January and early February here, the design team is working on comment disposition, and what that is as we sent the design out for review for our project stakeholders, each stakeholder has the opportunity to provide a number of comments, and we use that process to actually dispose of each of the comments, and some of them are incorporated into the final design, some are mitigated in other ways, some we have further discussions with the commenters. So it's a way to do a complete review of the project and incorporate any of those final comments as we move towards the final design. And then probably most importantly, and where I'll spend my time today, is on our project management oversight consultant. We had a kickoff meeting in early January where we spent a day walking them through the corridor. We gave them a very similar presentation to what was given publicly, with yet even more detail, and then they also had an opportunity to ask further questions, and we went on a few tangents and dug deeper on a few of the topics. So next slide, Jeff. And so here, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the PMOC, what I
David,
call it. Yeah.
David, it's John. Let me stop you for a second before we move off to public engagement. I think one of the things we had worked on was a better public engagement with the disability community, which I think we've done. And but there still seems to be some confusion on jurisdiction, on what DOMI's responsibilities are and what the Port Authority's responsibilities are. So at some point, I'd like to have you address that. But sorry to interrupt your presentation. Go ahead. I just wanted to throw that out.
No, that's a great question, and just shorthand, I will say most of the roadway operations that are relevant for the ADA community are going to be controlled by the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure at the City of Pittsburgh. We have for quite some time been working with DOMI staff, but just late last year had DOMI name a full-time project manager to engage with the project and to address some of the roadway operation issues like what you have asked about, Jeff. I think we jumped ahead one. So we have Steve Otterman from DOMI, and he actually has really helped us advance some of those discussions around street operations and drop-offs and pickups in the public right-of-way, because the DOMI does control the operations within the public right-of-way. And so Steve is meeting with individual stakeholders, meeting with groups to understand some of their issues and help us address those concerns, whether it's work that would occur in the right-of-way, design changes that might happen there, or accommodating some of those uses on side streets adjacent to where the current pickups and drop-offs are. But we can talk about that in a future briefing as well, covering some of the specific accessibility issues. I think that would be a great topic to cover. So the PMOC, yeah, sure. So the project management oversight consultant, I've had some people ask me, why do we have this? What does the PMOC do? As you'll recall, we have applied for a capital investment grant from the Federal Transit Administration, and it's a significant grant. It's nearly $100 million. And as part of the CIG process, the FTA requires that the project goes through a project management oversight process. Interesting side note, the FTA has just changed its rules to increase the minimum value of a project that would be assigned to PMOC, and that dollar value has gone up. I believe it's $250 million. So if this project were to go forward, say, next year, there would not have been a PMOC assigned. However, I'm going to stipulate that having a PMOC is a good thing for the project, and I'll talk about that. So the PMOC represents the FTA and represents FTA interests, and if they're investing a significant amount of money in the project, they want to make sure that we do have a strong, solid project plan, and that includes everything from our right-of-way acquisitions, how are we connecting with other projects, what are our key third-party agreements that we need to have in place, do we have a solid methodology for putting together a schedule that makes sense with sequencing, that our cost estimating is in line with best practices, things like specific to our project, our electrification plan is in line with expectations and best practices and lessons learned from around the country. And then primarily, there's a 2-day risk workshop that the PMO leads for us, and they will work on their assessment of the project, work with us to identify items of risk, make sure that we have a mitigation plan identified, and that mitigation plan is adequate to address the risk and mitigate the risk. There will not be a way to change the fact that Pittsburgh roadways are very old, and we oftentimes don't know what is underneath the road. So what is our mitigation plan for dealing with that utility risk and some of the other challenges that are inherent in the corridor? So that work is important for us because it helps us make sure that we've got our ducks in a row and we've addressed all of the potential concerns that could come up. Again, we did some of this risk analysis ourselves internally prior to having the PMOC named and assigned to the project. So we feel good about the project plan and that we've got all the elements in place to help the project succeed. But the FTA's PMOC will be the ultimate decider on that. They will be providing a readiness report that the FTA reviews, and that's sort of their last our last hurdle before getting the actual FTA grant awarded to us. So it's an exciting step. It's one that it provides a lot of project knowledge to us. These are experts, and I put on there the who are they. The company that is the PMO for this project is McKissick, which is based out of New York, and they have done a number of projects like this BRT project in the past, so they can help us apply lessons learned from elsewhere. And the last thing I want to note, this PMOC is actually, they're contracted by the FTA. This is not a Port Authority contract. This is not a DOMI contract, but this is the FTA's contractor. And so they work together to ensure that, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little feedback here. Okay. So
I'm getting feedback as well.
Okay. I think we've got the source.
Okay.
So that PMOC is contracted by FTA, represents FTA interests, but again, I'll say they are helping us deliver the best project that we can. So that's what kind of some background on the PMOC. Are there any questions on that just before I go into some of the next steps? Okay, let's go ahead then, Jeff. So what's going to happen here over the next 6 to 8 weeks? We will have a series of meetings with the PMOC. They actually start up next week and will continue for a number of weeks as we go through all those various elements that I talked about. Presuming that they come back with a favorable report, the grant funds could be released. Most likely, I believe the schedule for their report is early April currently, so we're hopeful that that process will move along expeditiously as we continue to advance the project. We are continuing with outreach and listening to concerns from the community. We have a number of meetings set up with individuals and organizations to address their particular concerns. We also continue to provide information about the project on the website. I actually would encourage people to check out the project page on the website because you have all of the designs are included there, and you can learn a lot of additional detail about the project itself. We'll go back here. Okay. It's moving on its own. So we will continue coordinating with DOMI and our utility partners as well. This is a very complex project, particularly in the Uptown area. There are a lot of very complex projects that need to be sequenced. We've spent a lot of time coordinating with those utilities, coordinating with DOMI and other partners. I actually will be going to a meeting later this morning where we'll be coordinating with PennDOT, the county, and any number of other private parties such as UPMC, Duquesne, PPG Paints Arena. So it's a very complex corridor, but we do have quite a bit of coordination work going on. Finally, we also are in the process of reviewing proposals for our construction management consultant. This would be the consultant that takes our design, helps us transition to the actual construction of the project, and we will be ready to take that CM contract to the board as soon as the federal funding has been released. So that contract will be ready to go, we expect. Here, just an overview of the project timeline. I've got a green circle around late 2020, early 21, where we are going through the PMO review, and we've had the 90% design meetings. We are starting to do the bidding and letting of the project, and construction would start very late this year, depending on when we're able to take the contracts to the board. 2022 will be a very heavy construction year, moving into 2023, and our hope and goal is for the project to be in revenue service in late 2023. So that covers my update on the project. I'd be happy to take any questions at this time. Thank you.
Do any members have any questions? Other board members? Good update, David. See if there's any questions. I'm not sure if there's any stakeholders in the audience or not. Are there any stakeholders? I don't see anyone on there. But this would be an opportunity to ask any questions you might have of the BRT project. Okay, seeing no questions, David, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, the meeting stands in adjournment until next month. Thank you very much, guys, for joining us this
Thanks.
morning. Bye.
All right, we'll just take a second. I'm switching over agenda, so we'll just take a second before we start the Finance Committee.
Hey, guys, I'm, it's Stephanie. I'm leaving the meeting now, okay?
Okay, bye,
Thank
Steph.
you.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, I will call to order the Finance Committee for today. I'm going to take a roll call of the committee members first. Member Liptak?
Here.
Representative Davis?
I'm here.
Member Delon?
Good morning, I'm here.
And any other board members present? Please let us know.
John Ted.
Yeah, Jeff Letwin.
Michelle Smianic.
Jessica Walsabell.
Okay, thank you. Our first order of business is the approval of minutes from the January 21st, 2021 Finance Committee. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved. This is Jen.
And I'll count Jen as a second. Any questions or revisions to those minutes? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, Pete, I will turn it over to you for our resolutions.
Good morning. I have three resolutions for your consideration this morning, in addition to reviewing the financial statements for January. So the first resolution is an authorization to enter into an agreement for financial advisory services. The Port Authority requires a pool of firms to assist with financial planning services and also debt and investment management advisory services. A request for proposal was sent out in accordance with the board adopted procurement policies and procedures. We received two proposals on October 30th, which were distributed to the ranking committee. The committee was made up of 6 employees from finance and operations. That committee met to rank the proposals, and after the committee deliberated, it was determined that PFM Financial Advisors LLC was the most qualified to perform the debt and investment management services portion of it. And under the category of financial planning services, the committee decided to recommend PFM Financial Advisors and NW Financial Group for the financial planning services. Now, this would all be done on work tasks. PFM, for those that are new to the committee, just recently helped us with the bond refinancing, where we are scheduled to save approximately $3 million a year. And PFM has also, in the past, helped us with our some of our strategic plan initiatives as well. So this would be a 3-year agreement with 2 additional option years at the sole discretion of the authority for a not to exceed amount of $400,000. And as I mentioned, that this would only be done by work order. So we would not approach that $400,000, obviously, unless we had things like additional bond work or any type of financial planning work. So I respectfully request consideration of this resolution.
Okay, do we have any questions? Okay, hearing none, do I have a motion to forward this to next week's board for approval?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Michelle. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
The second resolution for your consideration is a authorization to enter in an agreement for financial audit and pension plan audit services. The authority does require a outside contractor to perform our annual financial single audits. This would be for fiscal years 21, 22, and 23. In addition, we require a outside contractor / auditor to perform our audits of our 3 pension plans, and this would be for calendar years 2020, 21, and 22. As before, consistent with our board adopted policies, we sent out a RFP and formed a selection committee made up of six members from finance, engineering, and technical support. In the executive division, we did receive 4 proposals to the advertisement, and those responses were from Mayor Dussel, Crow LLP, Clifton Larson, Allen LLP, and Zalowski Axelrod LLC. The committee met and selected Mayor Dussel based on its experience, their detailed proposal, and low price. It should also be noted that Mayor Dussel is a certified women-owned business and located here in Allegheny County. We have begun negotiations for a 3-year agreement for a not-to-exceed amount of $313,500. Once again, there would be 2 additional option years at the sole discretion of the Port Authority. And this resolution would authorize award of the agreement. Are there any questions?
I have a couple questions. First of all, I just want to say I think Mardis is a great firm. They've been with us for a long time and appreciate the fine work. When did they become a woman-owned business?
I think it's just been within maybe the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay, it's the first. I think it's the first time we've heard it.
I believe Dave Dussel has. I mean, he's still involved with the company, but I believe he has new partners that are women partners.
Okay, who own the majority of the firm then? Now?
I can get that for you, Chairman.
I mean, yeah, we should have that information. I mean, it's
Right.
it's if you're using it as a criteria, would like to know, but no issues.
Yeah, I can get the names of the new partners.
And the second, and again, it's not an issue with Mardusa, but the second question is, so I know that there are some accounting standards, if I don't know if it's GASB based or not, where there has to be rotation after a certain number of years for auditors. Do we know what that rotation plan is with respect to Mardusa?
I do not know the rotation plan. I do know that in some of the responses that some of the experience and contracts that some of the other firms had with their companies that were listed were actually even longer than our relationship than we've had with Mayor Dussel. So.
Okay. I don't know if I'm wrong about that. That's my understanding. I'm not an accountant.
Okay.
I deal with accounting firms plenty, and I thought that was the case. Just would like to understand what the plan is. No hesitation with respect to the firm. Just want to understand that.
Right,
I will check on that as well.
My question really, and I agree, Jeff, I think that's the case. I think that, because I was thinking about that, we have some rotation here, and I think there's a requirement to do so. So it'd be good to know what that rotation is. The other thing of it is, what about minority participation? Because isn't that one of the criteria that we look at also?
I didn't note it, but Mayor Dussel, in addition to being women-owned, was also proposing a DB component. Sorry about that. Yes, so in addition to being women-owned, there was a DB component, I believe, I want to say 15%, but I can get that information. So they did fulfill that portion of the RFP as well.
Okay. In other words, in any of these proposals, it's important that we know that before we vote on any of this stuff, to make sure that we're meeting our own guidelines, not only what the required guidelines are, but our guidelines, yeah. Because we've done we're doing a particular outreach to communities of color, correct? I mean, we're doing that, right, Catherine?
Yes, we are, John, and we have increased the amount of DBE participation that we have on our federal funded projects. We do have set goals on the state projects. We can't set goals, but we have increased that participation. We can make sure, though, that as a matter of form, we're noting that on everything we bring to you. I know in the POC, we usually do note if we have a significant DBE component.
Right, and to be clear, I wasn't criticizing. I was trying to determine, make sure that we're meeting our own criteria and whatever we're required to provide. Also, we
absolutely we always meet the legal criteria, but we are happy to exceed it. I believe the finance team is currently working on hiring a second DBE position, DBE specialist, and we will be talking to the board in the future about some policy changes that will free up some time for our DBE specialists. And we have also recently brought on our director for equity and inclusion, which will help us out in that area as well.
Yeah, I think we've done a lot of the right steps. So thanks, Peter. I just wanted to clarify a few things. That's all.
No, I'll report back to the board on both the rotation and also the DB percentage that Mayor Dussel was proposing.
Okay, thank you, Pete. Do I have a motion to forward this to the board for consideration and approval next week?
Jen Liptak, so moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. The third resolution for your consideration is a authorization to amend the fiscal 21 capital budget. The board did pass a capital budget back on June 26, 2020, that runs from July 1st of 2020 to June 30th of 21. Since the adoption of that budget, we were notified of just a small decrease in the amount of state funding, state capital funding, $820,000. So this revised capital budget would reflect that decrease. Also, there's an adjustment in the dollars dedicated or contributed by Allegheny County for the DRT project, which is reflected in this revised 21 capital budget. And then since the adoption back in June of the initial capital budget, the Port Authority did qualify for some additional FTA funds for some smaller capital projects. So those capital projects are now included in this revision. So, yeah. Are there any questions on? Oh, okay. So this revised capital budget is in Exhibit A, and it's a total of $145,275,460. Are there any questions I can answer on that?
I have a quick question. This may be me just getting caught up. I noticed the spending increased in lockstep to the funding increase. Was that previously planned, or have we increased the spending side of the ledger in reaction to having the funds on which to spend or funding?
The majority of the increase was that the initial capital budget had $5 million contribution, local contribution towards BRT, and in order to get final sign-off by the PMO on the project, we have to have the entire contribution recognized in both our capital budget and likewise some of our funding partners' capital budgets. So now this reflects that full $15 million commitment for our fiscal 21 from Allegheny County towards the BRT project. So yes, it was planned.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other? Hearing none, do I have a motion to recommend this to the board for next week for approval?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Pete.
Thank you. And then finally, we will review the financial results for January 21. Our total operating income for the month was $5.5 million below budget, and for the fiscal year is $39.1 million below budget. The pandemic has caused weakness in every income category. Our expenses for the month of January were $6.5 million below budget, and for the year, $27.7 million below budget, which is good news. If this trend continues, we more than likely will not have to use any of the deferred revenue that we had budgeted to balance the fiscal 21 budget, and it also might lengthen the amount of time that the first CARES Act funding would be available. Our total subsidy for the fiscal year is $12.7 million ahead of plan, and that's primarily due to the CARES funding, which is recognized in the subsidy area and is the offset to the lower passenger revenue.
Hey, Pete, quick question. Is there an expiration date on the spending of the CARES 1 funding? Is there a time by which?
No, there is not any expiration for our CARES funding. I know when we were working closely with Allegheny County that they did have a December 30th expiration of the funding that they had available, but ours does not have a expiration date.
Okay, so we can spend it for however long it takes us. Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Our January year-over-year results, our operating income is $39.2 million lower than last fiscal year due to the pandemic. Our expenses are $4.1 million above last fiscal year due to higher wages and salaries, benefits, purchase services, and other expenses. Our subsidy is $36.7 million higher than last fiscal year, and that's predominantly due to the receipt of the CARES Act funding. Our operating reserves, we began January at $128.9 million. We received approximately $50.6 million in revenue through passenger revenue, federal, state, and local subsidy. We had cash outflows of approximately $40.7 million due to wages and salaries, benefits, and services. So we ended the month of January with approximately $138.8 million in operating reserves. Can I answer any questions on our financial results for the month of January.
Pete, this is Catherine. I think we should point out that we still have not received the final dollar amount for disbursement from the December 2020 second COVID bill. We have been working with our partners at SPC, but they have not received final guidance from the FTA on how to apportion the funding to various grant recipients. So as we get more information, we'll bring that back to the committee. But we do anticipate a pretty sizable chunk for reimbursement coming in on that bill. Just we don't have that number yet.
Thank you, Catherine. Okay. Was that all you had, Pete?
That's it. Thank you very much.
That's all that is on our agenda for today. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Second. Okay. Thank you. We'll see you next month. So adjourned.
Good morning, everyone. This is Michelle Smianik, Performance Oversight Committee. So if you just take a minute and get your agendas together, and we will get started with our meeting. Okay. Good morning. Welcome to Performance Oversight. Calling our committee to order, and we're going to do a quick roll call. So Michelle Smianik here, Performance Oversight, and our Representative Austin Davis. Are you here this morning?
Yep. Yes, I'm here.
You're still here. Thank you. And Representative Lori Mcgorski. Lori, are you here?
This is
All right,
Jeffrey. Lori wrote me that she would not be available today.
Great. Thank you so much. I was looking through for pictures on there. And then please, any other board members that are still on the call, would you please introduce yourself?
Ann O'Gorick.
John Tagg.
And Jeff.
Liptak.
Jessica Walterdale.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Our second item of business this morning would be approval of minutes of the January 21st, 2021 Performance Oversight Committee meeting. Could I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Ian, are you still on the call with us? Okay, do I have a second to approve those minutes from a board member?
I think John Tagg seconded it.
Yeah, I second it.
Thank you, John. I did not hear you. Okay, great. Any other additions or corrections or any other issues with our meeting minutes from last month? If not, I'm just going to move forward with all in favor to approve the minutes. Please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Meeting minutes are approved. Our proposed resolutions this morning, we only have one with Mr. Tony Trona with awarding of bids. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, committee members. I have 6 items for your review and presentation to the full board for approval. All the bids have been publicly advertised and our e-business documents were distributed. The first is Cummins EGR Coolers. 3 firms accepted our invitation and 3 bids were received for coolers for our coaches for over a 1-year period. It's our recommendation that the contract be awarded to Cummins Inc. an estimated amount of $137,920.50 over the 1-year period. This price represents a 5% increase from the previous contracted price for this product over 1 year ago. The second is LRV Mobile Lift Columns. 2 firms accepted our invitation. 2 bids were received for these columns. Our recommendation is that the contract be awarded to Allen Ty and Associates, LC, in the estimated amount of $170,963. There's been no recent purchase of these mobile lifts. However, the staff has determined the pricing to be fair and reasonable. Number 3, Cummins ISB engine replacement parts. 3 firms accepted our invitation, 4 bids were received for Cummins ISB engine replacement parts over a 2-year period. The low bidder proposed an item that was not in compliance with the technical specifications regarding warranty and approved equal parts, and therefore ineligible for award. It's our recommendation that the contract be awarded to the low responsible and responsive bidders, CBM US Inc., 1 item estimated amount of $12,905, Cummins Inc., 1 item estimated amount of $39,260, Penn Diesel Service Company, 4 items estimated amount $56,225.20. These prices represent a 6% increase over the previous contracted price for these items over 3 years ago. Number 4, the low bidder that was not in compliance, the difference between our awarded price and the price that was out of compliance was $11,000. Number 4, efficacy testing for deep cleaning of Port Authority facilities and transit vehicles. 6 firms accepted our invitation and 4 bids were received for this testing and reporting for the facilities over a 2-year period. The board awarded deep cleaning services at its January 2021 meeting, and these contracts would cover the testing portion of those services. It's our recommendation that the contract be awarded to the low responsive bidders, Enspra Corporation covering the ATP service testing for $180,999 over a 2-year period, Microbec Laboratories covering RT-PCR testing, estimated amount of $19,000 over a 2-year period. There's been no recent purchase of these services. However, the staff has determined the pricing to be fair and reasonable. Number 5, direct fixation tie plates. 2 firms accepted the invitation, 2 bids were received for these tie plates. So our recommendation that the contract be awarded to LB Foster Company in an estimated amount of $578,089.50. There's been no recent purchase of these plates. However, the staff has determined the price to be fair and reasonable. Number 6, Meritor drivetrains parts for our coaches. 6 firms accepted the invitation, 5 bids were received for these drivetrain parts over a 2-year period. The low bidder did not bid all items in the group as required by the bid documents and therefore ineligible for award. So it's our recommendation that the contract be awarded to the low responsive bidders. Neopart Transit, 24 items in estimated amount of $289,488.75 over the 2-year period. Fraser Gage, 49 items in estimated amount of $340,343 over a 2-year period. This price represents a 38% decrease from the previous contracted price for these products 2 years ago. The low bidder did not complete their complete the bid, and they did not. They only bid 3 or 4 items out of the package, so we couldn't do a price comparison to tell you how much lower they were as compared to the awarded price because they didn't even give us enough information. That concludes my report.
Mr. Trona. Do I have any questions from our committee members for Mr. Trona on this issue or any of these items? Do I have any questions or comments from any of our other board members for Mr. Trona? Hearing no questions, could I have a motion to move this forward to our full committee for voting on Friday?
So moved.
Thank you, Austin. Do I have a second to move this forward from a board member?
Second.
Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments? Otherwise, all in favor of moving this forward, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carries moving forward to the full board. I have nothing else on the agenda this morning, and I believe that there is no technology meeting following us. Catherine, any of our senior staff, any other closing comments that we have?
No, ma'am. Thank you to everybody for joining us this morning.
All right, thank you, everyone. This concludes our meeting until next month.
See you all next week.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Aye.